Las Vegas hasn't lost its magic. It's just started charging for that magic, making even the CEO of MGM admit that the high prices on the Strip have become a disgrace, with a regular cup of coffee being pushed to $2, causing visitors to question their decision to book tickets in the first place. Miracles don't disappear. It's only labelled with the price, plus service fees, resort fees, local taxes, and a host of surcharges that one only realises upon paying that they've stepped into a very cleverly designed trap. For decades, Las Vegas's iconic casinos have been built on a core philosophy, making visitors feel pampered, entertained, and most importantly, wanting to return. But today, that philosophy has been replaced by a completely different model, maximizing revenue per visitor, regardless of how much the experience is eroded. Hotel rooms are cleaned less frequently, services are declining, staff is thinner, while prices are escalating at an unprecedented rate. Vegas still makes more money from each visitor, but it's losing the very thing that made it attractive in the first place. People come, spend money, leave disappointed, and have no reason to return. In this video, we'll delve into the harsh realities behind Las Vegas's iconic casinos. To understand why the city once considered a dream destination is slowly becoming a one-time experience. Vegas once lived by a simple rule: make it easy for guests to enter, make them stay long, and they'll spend money on their own. That's how an entertainment city operates as an invitation. But now, the first thing Vegas offers is no longer the feeling of getting away from it all. It introduces a class of fees, and that fee is like a test. Do you have enough patience and enough money to continue? If you've ever seen a room listed for $29 to $35 on a booking site, don't jump to the conclusion that you've just snagged a bargain. Please, scroll down to the bottom and read the small print. Because in New Vegas, the numbers you see are often just bait, and what really pulls you out of the water is the fee net. Many tourists come to Vegas for a $35 room, but when they check out, they find they might have to pay an additional resort fee of around $50 plus room tax and tax on the resort fee. So the initial deal turned into a bill that made you sit down and recalculate what you had agreed to. And the problem isn't just about money. It feels like being led by the nose. You thought you booked, but when you arrive, you see the resort fee. You thought driving there was enough, but there's also the parking fee. You think you're done after checking in, but there are all sorts of convenience and service surcharges. A trip that was supposed to be relaxing turned into a financial problem. In fact, tourists are turned into reluctant detectives, following the trail of every small note in the bill to avoid being hit with unexpected fees. Vegas no longer takes your money with one big bet in the casino. It takes it with many small touches. Each touch is valid, but taken together, they create a feeling of being led and burdened. Vegas is still the city of dreams. It's just that the dreams now come with extra fees. When you approach a trip with a defensive mindset, your behavior will change immediately. You tend to hold on to your money. You eat less. You play less. You completely forgo generous tips. It's not because you're stingy, and that's because you don't know how many more layers of fees are waiting for you ahead. This isn't just a feeling. It happened right in the context of a noticeable decline in the number of visitors. According to LVCVA data cited by Travel Weekly, as of November 2025, the number of visitors is expected to decrease by approximately 7.4%, a loss of nearly 2.8 million compared to 2024. In such a market, the obvious reflex of businesses is to tighten surcharges to compensate. But this is a dangerous strategy, because Vegas doesn't survive on one-time visitors. Vegas thrives on repeat visitors, those who once saw it as a habit, a ritual, a vacation, and a reward for their annual efforts. And when public intimacy disappears, guests no longer feel welcome. They found themselves entering a very carefully calculated fee system, just like many other industries in the US. The base price looks okay, but the total cost is always higher than you think. If you're a tourist, what would you choose? Would you be willing to pay an extra layer of fees as long as the experience is worthwhile? Or will you leave as soon as you feel guided? What's your breaking point? The resort fee? The parking fee? Or is it the feeling of being treated with contempt from the very beginning? And when welcome has become a series of conditions, the thing that makes guests feel most offended isn't the room rate, but small items like water, coffee, and beer, essential goods that seem easily accessible but suddenly become a financial burden. Las Vegas is facing a very unique kind of crisis, one that has put the city in a position where it is no longer considered trustworthy for spending. People don't hate Vegas because they lose at gambling. Losing money is part of the game. Everyone knows that before entering a casino. But what infuriates people the most is the feeling of being charged as if they were just a card on the betting table. And the house always has the upper hand. To give you a clear picture, let's go back to a rare moment. MGM CEO Bill Hornbuckle publicly admitted they had lost control of the narrative the public was telling about Vegas. He directly mentioned the $12 Starbucks coffee at Excalibur, adding the confession, "Shame on us." What needs to be paid attention to is not the number, $12. Vegas has never been short of expensive things. Vegas sells luxury like candy. The most valuable point here is the rare occasion when a casino CEO has to admit the city is being criticized by guests for its prices. And when a corporation has to admit that publicly, it means it's no longer just a matter of a few isolated invoices. It has become a system-wide media scandal. And it doesn't stop there. There's also the story of the $26 water bottle, a classic example of what the press calls viral backlash. And MGM says they had to price correct, meaning adjust the price after the reaction. It's understandable that tourists reacted strongly, because no one can accept an illogical calculation. A room costs $29, but a cup of coffee costs $12. If you look at it from everyday logic, it's like buying a discounted movie ticket, only to be sold popcorn at the price of a dinner. And this is the core issue of insane pricing. It's not just the high price. It's what Americans call insult pricing. A price that makes you feel like every spending decision you make is a joke. Tourists may be willing to pay more for a good show, a beautiful room, or a special experience, because they know they are buying something expensive explicitly, and that it will at least provide equivalent value. But they don't accept paying unreasonable prices for something as basic as water, coffee, or beer, because that essential item is something you buy repeatedly. And it was that repetition that made it the biggest memory of the trip. Why do drinks and coffee make people angrier than the room rate? It's simple. Because room prices can be found at a discount. Book early. Choose weekdays. Use points. But for water, coffee, and beer, you're stuck within the resort ecosystem. This is what's called captivity pricing. Pricing based on the knowledge that you have no choice. Therefore, in many cases, tourists have to walk to CVS, Walgreens to buy water, snacks, and sandwiches. Do you see the paradox? Vegas, the city of abundance, is making visitors live like they're optimizing spending. A vacation suddenly felt like a savings campaign. The most dangerous aspect of this price type doesn't lie in the numbers. It's about the feeling. I'm a fool if I still pay. Americans have a saying, I can afford it. But I refuse to be treated like a sucker. And once they feel they're being seen as a sucker, they accept closing their wallets and not returning again. And have you ever wondered why Vegas chose this strategy? Don't think they don't know how tourists feel. They know. But it seems They are choosing to optimize short-term profits rather than maximize customer satisfaction. As guest numbers decreased and revenue pressure increased, they tried to compensate with profit margins from F&B, food, and beverages. But this is also a strategy that eats into goodwill, something Vegas needs most to get customers to return. In conclusion, Vegas is not losing customers due to high prices. Vegas is losing customers because of high prices for things that should be normal and minimalist. It makes tourists feel looked down upon. And when consumer self-esteem is touched, they leave very decisively. But there's still a fee that's even more cruel than a $12 coffee, because it hits you right from the first minute, even before you buy anything. That's the parking fee, the moment Vegas breaks the social contract with visitors. If there's one moment that makes many visitors say, Vegas has lost its soul, it's not when they see the room rates, but it's when they're looking for a parking spot. Parking fees are a very special type of cost. It's not like the price of beer or coffee, because those things happen after you've already entered the game. And the parking fee happens before you even have a chance to feel like you're on vacation. It's the first greeting. And that greeting sounded like, pay up, and we'll welcome you later. We could argue that every city charges fees. But Vegas isn't just any city. Vegas is a place built on an implicit social contract. Give guests a sense of comfort, convenience, and welcome, and they will spend money voluntarily. Therefore, when Vegas charges a fee right at the entrance, it's not just collecting money, it's breaking the social contract. And to show this isn't a vague feeling, the local station specifically documented MGM increasing parking resort fees along with daily time-based pricing. This directly impacts visitors in a very practical way. You could lose tens of dollars just to park for a few hours. And even though that amount won't bankrupt you, it creates a feeling very much like you're being punished. Because everyone understands, when you enter a casino, you can lose money that's a choice. But when you just park, you feel forced to pay an amount that shouldn't be a barrier to a vacation. Then the behavior started to change. And this is what Vegas should be afraid of. When you've already paid for parking, you'll wonder, so, what else do I have to pay for? You visit fewer casinos in one night, because each move is a calculation. You're reducing the experience Vegas wants you to have. Going to many places, spending in many places, playing more. Not a few people are moving off strip, or simply avoiding the strip altogether. It's not because they hate Vegas. And that's because they don't want to start a fun time with a feeling of dissatisfaction. Do you see the paradox? Vegas wants you to stay longer, but the parking fee makes you want to leave earlier. Vegas wants you to spend money in the casino, but the parking fee makes the money they spend stay in the parking lot. To be fair, every business has the right to optimize its revenue. But the question is, how much optimization is too much, to the point where it starts to ruin the experience? Parking fees are a classic example of taking a little slice from each customer and hoping that the total will be large enough. But this approach has a risk. It erodes the most difficult thing to recover: goodwill. The most dangerous thing is that parking fees don't just cause frustration. It creates doubt. When tourists find themselves being charged from the very first minute, they begin to doubt everything. Is this room price really the final price? Is the price determined by the market or by some calculation system? Is everything being designed so that I can't win? Not even a feeling of joy. When customers are already upset about parking fees, they begin to doubt the entire pricing system. And the next question will be whether prices in Vegas are truly determined by competition or by algorithms and market power. While tourists feel squeezed right from the entrance, Vegas continues to pour money into new mega resorts. But big doesn't mean cared for. And that's when we enter the story of places that look like the future, but make people feel cold. Resorts World is a very clear symbol of New Vegas. New, big, morning, many restaurants, many brands. Everything feels designed to make you think, this is the Vegas of the future. But the problem is, this future is sometimes so unpredictable that it makes you wonder, am I at a resort or have I wandered into a high-end shopping mall? The paradox of luxury today is that the more luxurious it is, the more it resembles a retail system, clean, morning, smooth, but anonymous. You walk into a mega casino and immediately understand one thing. Here, no one welcomes you. You're just a part of the crowd. A line of people is led through exactly the paths they need to take, looking at exactly what they need to see, and stopping exactly where the system wants them to stop. It's not necessarily that anyone is forcing you, but everything is designed for you to do it yourself. Vegas was once famous for its special treatment. Even if you're not a celebrity, you can still feel welcome, rewarded, spoiled. And in mega projects like Resorts World, luxury sometimes becomes something automatic. You receive the service, but not the feeling. You buy the experience, but you don't get the warmth of the experience. This doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happened just as the market was slowing down. According to data from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority (LVCVA), reported by the Las Vegas Sun, visitor arrivals to Las Vegas in June 2025 decreased by 11.3% compared to June 2024, which is approximately 400,000 fewer visitors. LVCVA cited economic uncertainty, weaker consumer confidence, and a slow conference month as reasons. Do you understand the meaning of this number? When customer numbers decline, but the operating costs of a mega project remain high, the pressure on revenue will fall squarely on one thing. Every customer's step must generate profit. And so, upselling became a reflex. Fee-based becomes the foundation. From the rooms, to the food, to the service, to the smallest details. New Vegas isn't just selling a vacation. It sells a chain of transactions wrapped in lights. Resorts World-style mega projects can attract new visitors, just to see what they're like. Come once to take photos, to check in, to say you've experienced it, but to come back a second, third time. People need something else. It's not a new building, but it's an emotional reason, a memory, a feeling of being rewarded, a feeling of Vegas with soul. Mike, what kind of traveller do you consider yourself to be? Do you want Vegas to be a place to see and know, or a place to come and want to return to? And what brings you back? The glitz and glamour, or the feeling of being treated like a human being? But the problem isn't with one resort. It lies in the structure of ownership and power. As the Strip increasingly resembles a market with too few major players, the experience will become increasingly homogenized, and value will disappear due to competition. There's one thing Vegas used to understand very well, and seems to be forgetting now. Vegas isn't rich because it sells expensively. Vegas is rich because it knows how to give customers a piece of the pie in exchange for their time and repeat business. That's an old formula. Simple, but as efficient as a machine. The room is cheap buffet, free parking. You walked in as if invited. You stay longer. You spend more. You play more. You tip more. And most importantly, you come back. Back then, Vegas was like a bar that knew how to keep customers. The first drink might be cheap, but it was the pleasant atmosphere that made you order a second round. No one feels they are being set up. Everyone feels like they got something out of it. And that profit is what makes Vegas win big in the long run. But the new formula is different, and it's different in a way that makes people tired. Now it's room plus fee plus parking fee plus shocking drink prices. You walked in like you were going through a toll booth. You stayed a little longer because you didn't want to open your wallet again. You play less because you felt disappointed before you could even enjoy it. You spend less because you don't believe the experience will be worth it. And tips also decreased, not because customers were stingy, but because they felt everything around them was trying to get their share first. This new formula creates a vicious cycle. More fees, less goodwill, fewer return customers, more fees needed to compensate. What does it look like to you? It's like a business that's run out of growth ideas, starting to charge for things that used to be free, and then calling it optimization. And customers call it by another word, tiring. And the most important point here is, Vegas seems to have sensed they've gone too far. The CEO of MGM once admitted they had to adjust prices after the backlash. Independent 2025 reports that MGM said they had price corrected after backlash over prices, including the 26 water incident. That implicitly confirms a very clear truth. The toll system has exceeded acceptable limits, and the market began to punish Vegas in a quiet way. People lost interest, lost their enthusiasm, and gradually lost the habit of returning. And this is Vegas's biggest loss. Vegas doesn't lose customers just because of price. Vegas is losing customers because of a loss of trust. But trust can't be bought back with a new building. It can't be brought back with a new show. It can't be saved with a few nights of discounts. Because the problem isn't with the product, it's about the feeling. Am I still welcome? Or am I just being charged? Old Vegas gives you the feeling of small wins to keep you happy while you lose big. Vegas is now making you lose small continuously, so you leave before you can lose big. If you've ever been to Vegas and had a moment where you felt this is what Vegas is all about, a moment where you were welcomed, treated kindly, and felt valued, please share it in the comments. And if you still want to go back, in the next video, we'll talk about how to visit Vegas without getting swallowed up by the fee economy, how to choose the right time, the right area, and the right experiences so you pay for value, not for frustration. Old Vegas makes you want to stay another night. Vegas now makes you want to leave early, to avoid another fee. It still calls itself the City of Dreams. The only thing is, the dream now comes with a longer bill than the memories. But I don't think Vegas is out of chances. I think Vegas is testing the limits of tourists. And tourists are responding in the coldest way. They're not arguing anymore. They're not coming back anymore. In your opinion, what makes a destination lose customers faster? High prices or feeling undervalued? Have you ever left a place not because you didn't have enough money, but because you felt you were being overly calculated? If Vegas lowers prices, but still keeps its complex fee system, would you go back? If this video helps you see Vegas from a different angle, please hit the like button so I know you want more investigations like this. If you have friends who have been to Vegas and had a similar loss of faith, please share this so they can join the honest discussion. And if you want to see the next part, how to go to Vegas smarter, avoiding being swallowed by the fee economy, subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss it.